Welcome to Project Insight's Power Tutorial Series. Today's session is all about helping you move from static spreadsheets to living dynamic project plans. In this quick 15-minute session, we're going to show you how easy it is to transform spreadsheets-based processes into connected, automated project plans inside Project Insight. If any of this sounds familiar, you're in the right place. You spend more time updating spreadsheets than actually managing projects. Your manual entry errors are slowing you down. You're tired of email updates and re-entering data every time something changes. Information gets lost across emails and messaging tools. Or you wish your downstream stakeholders were automatically notified of any changes. Project Insights help teams move beyond spreadsheets, replacing manual processes with connected workflows, automated and real-time visibility. And the best part, teams typically save between 2 and 7 hours per member per week by making the shift. A few housekeeping notes, everyone will be on mute. As members are already doing, please feel free to use the chat as we go along the way. This session will run for about 15 minutes and it will be accessible at the link you've joined from. My name is Matthew Sparks. I'm the Director of Sales and Business Development here at Project Insight. With me is Steve West, our co-founder and CEO. Steve, you ready to go?
Definitely. Let's get into it.
Wonderful. So, what we see often here is this idea of teams managing all sorts of different data points within Excel and the spreadsheets that they're using. We have a few examples here of what we've seen, although often it's not quite as succinct as having just different tabs across. More frequently than not, what we're seeing is I've got this window open with this sheet and I have this window open with this one and Steve's managing this guy and we're, communicating back and forth to get them updated. But often we see things like this where I'm looking at a program dashboard and I can see the different projects and how they're performing. We can see these sometimes over time in Gantt charts, which are often not easily scalable, right, Steve? Where I'm sliding all the way across to figure out when my project plans are because of the actual length of what we have going. If I get into a project as a whole, sometimes I'm looking at, just a standard kind of activity as it pertains to, on a Gantt itself. Sometimes it's risk trackers, but often it looks something like this, right? Where this is
that's what, that's the allocation right there. Definitely.
Right? You've got to get your glasses on to look at it up close to see what the directions are on how to use this thing. You've got to make sure you don't delete something so that way it doesn't mess it up for everybody else, right? So,
And these are some pretty good spreadsheets that you're showing right now. I mean, definitely giving a lot of valuable information on them.
They really are. I agree with you. I think that the data points here are strong. It's just the usability is really what lacks, right?
When you're going to get stuck updating one and then updating another and another and another, that's where it gets tricky. And then even if you go to the trouble of linking all the sheets together, that always inevitably breaks.
I'm the number one fail point of that, Steve. I'm the first one to delete something by mistake, right? So, we've got a solution for those kind of points, and we're going to walk through those same points in reverse or in the same order that we just saw them in within Project Insight, and then we'll talk about how you can import those and move forward in a succinct system. So, where we're going to start here is actually on a program level, and the idea is to match that first spreadsheet we were looking at. So this is a program view where I can see all of the projects that make up this particular program as a whole. The thing that's really nice about Project Insight is if I want to move these columns around, I can just drag and drop and do so, right? If I don't want to see a data point, I can come in here and right-click and remove or insert anything else that I want to. I don't need to do a lookup or to bring this from here or, to Steve's point, connect my sheets up to have everything in one spot. It's all naturally done for us.
Right, and if you remove the column, the data is not going to disappear. It's still in the system.
Right.
So it's just not being shown.
That's a great call out. The other part is this is editable in line, right? So if I'm moving my phase or something happens with my health, Or if I want to leave a comment for somebody, I can come in here and actually tag them and say, "Hey, Andrew, help me out,"
Right.
and Andrew then gets notified automatically.
Right.
So,
I mean, you still have all the same columns that you're showing on that other dashboard that you were presenting a minute ago, but this is all reliving, breathing system, and any edits to this particular view will edit all the other views automatically. So it saves a lot of time when you start thinking about a whole portfolio of projects and then a whole team of project managers all trying to keep their stuff up to date.
100%. I mean, right here on this, program alone, I'm managing. Look at this handful of pieces, right? Rather than
Yeah.
going one to one, I can do these all in one shot.
Yeah.
The
Well,
other
and if
part,
you need it in Excel, you
yeah,
can export it anytime you want. That's the other
that
thing. These views are all exportable.
that's a really good call out. Or we can automatically send it out via Excel to the
That's right.
stakeholders, right, as an email. So the other part of this is Gantt charts built in automatically, so I don't need to go in and try to configure. If I want to change the scale, I don't need to scroll forever. I can just right click and change my scale. I can introduce new columns the same way we were just doing on the previous overview page. The other part that I really like about all of the Gantt, Steve, is that I can export this as a PDF all the same, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
if I want to get it out in Excel, I can do that, or I can do that via PDF pretty readily. And then if team members have different ways they want to interact with this, I can also use board views or drag and drop and move these from one to another as opposed to using the list. So it makes it better for people who might have different methodologies they prefer to use. So if we were to click into one of these projects, and we'll just go into this guy right here, we have the ability to see, one of many views and ways to interact with this data point, these data points, and this is actually the project task list. So these are all of the items that are going to occur to make this execute. Each of these members or resources that are on here have the ability to be automatically notified when something is due. They can, will show the work list even later where they can just go to one central place and manage their parts. But similar to that program view, I can move these around. I can look at this on a Gantt chart. I can look at these in board views without having to recreate or do anything else. It's all right here within Project Insight.
Right. I mean, the key is just keeping your schedules up to date. Everybody does that anyway. So really all you have to do is keep each of your project schedules up to date, and then you automatically get all of these out of the box views that are similar to what you're already putting together in your sheets for your reports.
That's right. The other one that's great is my allocation is also built right in as I make
Yeah.
these assignments happen. So I don't need to look at that other sheet and go in and say, Daniel's going to be on this from this day to this day based on the tasks. It's going to automatically seam that out. I can see what other assignments they're on. And in the event that maybe they're not the right fit, I can find another resource with that same skill set to be able to take that work on. So I think the consolidation of everything in one spot is what makes that easy. That also applies to things like our risk matrix, where I don't need to have another tab or another sheet or a full other SharePoint structure built out for this, right? It can all just be right here on the project level. So the nice part about all of these points that we're talking about, importation from Excel is seamless. I can come right here and say I want to import tasks. If you're using Microsoft Project, you can do that, but we're really talking about spreadsheets in Excel here. I can click right here. If I'm stuck or I'm unsure of what to do, we've got a nice little tutorial video. How do I import my piece, into Project Insight? I can download our template, and then I can bring in all of those tasks associated with this particular project.
Yeah, and then sometimes you have to get your data a little bit formatted, but bringing it all in, it's worth it.
And pretty simple. I think if you're using Excel already, the wizardry of moving something in one column to another to little transformations, usually pretty straightforward, right? So
yeah, I mean, if you want to do, you can actually import even the hierarchy or even the predecessor relationships if you choose to set them up. what you'll want to do is download that template and align your columns to the default columns that we have.
That's right. And you can do that at a higher level up as well, right, Steve? If I want to
Yeah.
import just my project data, we have the ability to do that in bulk as well. The same setup where I've got a helpful video, I've got an Excel template to use,
Yep.
but in this way, I'm creating those project shells to associate portfolio or phase or priority or any of those other pieces with. Or a combination of those two, right? Where I can do projects and tasks below those.
Definitely. And sometimes that's really helpful. Like a lot of times we'll use that bulk import for when we're onboarding, or the customers will do that themselves. But that's really what that's designed for, is you have your whole, you don't want to do it one at a time.
I don't want to, that's for sure, right? I want to get it done so that way we
Yep.
can start, executing here. The other place that we have the ability to import data from, and this might happen even if you have transferred to Project Insight, is around time and or expense. So if we are logging our time within our HR system or our payroll system, we have the ability to follow that same concept where I can bring in all of my actuals against my projects and do that in bulk as well. So same idea, here's my template, I can import that. I really like these added options that you do have where if the project isn't there, it will create it automatically, or if the task isn't there, it'll create it there automatically. So it makes it really simple to be able to bring those points in. So once you do, you can then have access to all of the different reporting options that Project Insight has available by default. We're talking this cross-project Gantt where I'm looking at all of my projects. So, Steve, I could theoretically use that bulk import process and bring in 300 projects and then immediately have this at my fingertips, right?
Definitely.
So,
Yeah, and you can see there's even milestones in there. If you bring your milestones in, they'll be mapped out on the Gantt chart.
who my resource is, right, associated
Yep.
with each of these, and then I can comment even if I need to. That
Yep.
applies to these high level pieces. That applies to the lower level as far as task assignment, and I can understand, what's current and overdue throughout each of these projects. All of these reports, as we discussed earlier, can be saved. They can be included in my report menu where I've got quick access. I can make sure Steve has access to them by default as well, or I can schedule them to be sent out even as an Excel file, right? If that's what I care to. So,
Yep.
and then that's also true for the allocation, right? So as all of those assignments come due, I can then understand what the capacity of my overall workforce looks like. I can drill in based on role or department or any kind of way in between that we want to look at the data, and then we can go through and do that. Again, with a simple user importation Excel sheet, I'll have all of this data right there to use. The last, I think, superpower that Project Insight has through this entire workflow is if I'm an individual here who has assignments during this timetable or anywhere that are timely, I can always go to my work list and access all of those right here, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, and the work list is not just in online, but the work list shows up in your Microsoft Teams app and on the mobile app if you're using that. So instead of just putting your data into a bunch of spreadsheets with the tasks and who's doing it, each user gets a personalized view of all the tasks or issues or risk items, or any item that you assign to them in the system will come to this view. They can see it all in one place, whether they're on one project or 1,000 projects, and it's also the relevant thing. So if there's things scheduled way in the future, it won't show up onto here until it needs to be done. So this is like one of the core things of being able to collaborate online instead of just emailing everybody and getting into a meeting and showing them the spreadsheet where they have to go find it out of what they're supposed to do. If they're on 20 projects, they have to look at 20 different sheets. So this eliminates all of that. If your team members update the tasks, they're doing it, updating your spreadsheet for you automatically.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You don't need to chase me down, Steve. You can assign me
Yeah.
the pieces when they're due. I'll come right here. I'll be able to execute, and then we can move that forward.
Right,
So
and this just saves you a lot of time. And it's always, project managers are always like, "Hey, it's hard to let go of the sheet because you're used to it." But getting your team members involved and get everybody involved working together, having everything online, it will save a lot of time, way more than you would think.
that's right. And I would even argue the fact that even if you don't want to get that granular and you just want the project manager to track
Yep,
the milestones or the other key points there, even that's still that massive uplift
absolutely.
because it's there. So, if you have any questions about, how you can get out of spreadsheets and you want to have a conversation with us, please feel free to reach out to sales@projectinsight.com. Our team is happy to walk you through how we can provide that uplift and what that time savings will look like for you. If you are a customer, or again, if you're even exploring, you can get out your phone and scan this QR code. We made a wonderful support documentation specifically for this workflow. We'd love to see you improve your efficiency and save hours and hours per week by switching to Project Insight. So,
Yeah,
and I think that's it on our time, Steve.
yeah, we went a little over, 2 minutes over, but good job getting that all
Yeah,
in 17 minutes.
that's fair. We appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much.